To the Investment Club's second event of the year. I would like to thank Dr. Ali Azam, one of the most accomplished professors here in AUB, for this great opportunity. Bitcoin currency is the future of money. It's basically the most popular virtual currency currently in the world, and it will give you great insights on how the future will unfold. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to present to you Mr. Stéphane Abichaker, head of Nov. Mr. Stéphane is a leading Bitcoin thinker and boasts extensive knowledge in Bitcoin and the future of currency. Dr. Azam will take the chair from here.
Good evening. It's my pleasure also to welcome you to this event this evening. We'll be talking about a great lecturer talking about Bitcoin and the future of money. All of you would wonder, all of us professionals would wonder, what's the purpose of money? You heard me telling you in class in various courses, money serves three functions: medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. So, but beyond these functional purposes of money, the money is also means of control. It's an expression of economic power, of prestige. You know that before money was introduced, hierarchies were determined, maintained through brutal force. Now it is money which will do that. Keep in mind the function of money as a means of control, and let's ask, would the central banks of the world, especially the powerful ones, the Federal Reserve, allow a peer-to-peer network cryptocurrencies to take over? Would they allow to let go of the control now they have? Would the banks of the world, the intermediaries who are benefiting so much, allow the startups to disrupt the day-to-day businesses of payment? Should we look at Bitcoin as a currency or as an asset? Do you want to invest in Bitcoin or just use it as a currency? All these questions and others I want you to think of, and at the end of the presentation, we would like to share them with our distinguished speaker. There is very few people in Lebanon, in the region, who can talk authoritatively about this topic. It's highly technical. And the challenge is to present something technical in simple terms to people like me and you who are not as technical in cryptocurrencies at least. We know a little bit of finance, but our knowledge of the IT is limited. It's my pleasure to welcome Stéphane tonight, and I would like you all to join me in welcoming Stéphane.
Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you for being here. A small correction, I'm not head of Blom Invest. I used to be head of investment banking at Blom Invest. Today I'm a consultant. I teach at university, and Bitcoin is my obsession. So let's talk about my obsession. And I think what would be more interesting is to have a Q&A after my presentation than me lecturing you. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. That's what we know today, or that's what the public knows today about Bitcoin. It has a horrible reputation, and that has been the case for many years. And the reasons are many. There are accidents that happen whereby some hackers would go on platforms, trading platforms, and hack these platforms, extract the bitcoins, steal them, and consequently it did the headlines of many media around the world. Other incidents would also include ransomware. I don't know if you are aware of this or have been a victim to this, because apparently in Lebanon it's more and more widespread, whereby you would have a virus on your computer that is a program, in fact, that would lock your files, and it would only open if you send Bitcoin to some hacker. So, negatively speaking, there are a lot of things to say. This bad reputation has led to a handful of negative views, negative codes about Bitcoin, and that has not helped either. If I had to cite some of them, well, Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's number 2. He's a very finance-oriented guy, an extensive career in valuation, and Charlie Munger believes Bitcoin is rat poison. Warren Buffett says that of his 49 billion under management, there is 0 in Bitcoin. And then you have obviously Jamie Dimon, CEO of Morgan Chase, who has also a very negative view over it. And I think this relates to what Dr. Azzam was saying just now about how would central banks and banks extensively accept Bitcoins in the system, or any cryptocurrency for that. So what this has led to is a profusion of titles in the press and the media, whereby you have a website counting the number of times Bitcoin was declared dead in a way or another. So you have many publications like Forbes or Bloomberg, Financial Times and others who have declared this currency as something of the past and as dead. So why this animosity? Why this widespread aggressiveness against Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the blockchain in general before it became mainstream? We're going to talk about it. I think all of you know about Airbnb and Uber and the way these have really completely changed the economics and the metrics of entire sectors. I think there's some phenomenon taking place that we can compare to Uber, Airbnb, with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And this phenomenon is that a solution, if we can say this, was found to an age-old problem, which is trust in a transaction. When you have a transaction, you have at least 2 parties. And by definition, what is needed to conduct a transaction is trust among parties. Blockchain in general, and the Bitcoin as its biggest application so far, is a system whereby trust is not needed. We're going to explain this, but this very truth is at the center of this rejection by mainstream banking, finance players, big institutions, etc. Because by definition, it would contradict their very reason to exist. Okay, this is an extreme view. This is not happening now. We're far from it. But my understanding or my belief is that big players, big banks, institutional players, they do have a view on that, and that's what they're seeing as a threat. So mainly the word here is disruption, going back to Uber and Airbnb examples. We're living a really enormous disruption. So where does it come from? It was all born on the ashes of the 2007-2008 crisis. by the end of 2008, on 31st of October, practically 8 years now, there's this guy, nobody knows anything about him. We don't even know if it is a guy, a woman, a group of coders. He is incognito, totally incognito. And he took the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. And that has led even some journalists to go to Japan to try to find him, and they found an old guy who has nothing to do with this. But the point is, this guy chose to be incognito, but what he really did is this revolutionary paper that he published on Reddit, which is a blog for IT people, very followed in the US, and it's a platform of discussion also, centrally a platform of discussion for coders. So he published this paper titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So very frequently, inventions, they are freed from their inventor. In that case, Satoshi Nakamoto is defining Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. But what we observe today is that this system is taking a place and an importance that is far beyond being simply a cash system. We're going to also describe this a bit more. So that was the beginning of the revolution, 31 October 2008. And at that date, Satoshi Nakamoto was coding what he has written in the paper. On January 2009, the first Bitcoin transaction took place. And then slowly, there were some geeks, some IT people who were seeing that on Reddit, and they would download the Bitcoin software, they would install it, and they would participate in this network. And slowly but surely, it grew and grew. And it reached a level where today it has a market value of practically $11 billion. So the main question maybe that we have to ask now, after this long introduction, negative views, and this famous paper, is what is Bitcoin? I'll be very frank with you. It's been months now I'm interested in the subject. I've read a lot, I've seen a lot of videos, and I'm not sure my answer would be really totally true. So it's something in the making, okay? Bitcoin is something in the making. It is still, by financial or economics or historical references, a very little baby, okay? So compared to the global financial system, it is nothing. But it is attracting extreme interest from players in the system and players outside of the system. So what is Bitcoin? First of all, it has a component of being a peer-to-peer network that maintains a distributed ledger, the blockchain, of digital tokens known as Bitcoin. So first important idea to have in mind, the peer-to-peer. I think a lot of you probably know what is peer-to-peer. You have these peer-to-peer platforms where you can download audio files, video files, PDFs, etc. It's very widespread. So the peer-to-peer system, by definition, is not centralized. You do not have a central server. You do not have a central authority. You do not have a central decision maker in a peer-to-peer network. A peer-to-peer network is a network whereby nodes or computers or participants, they would come and download the existing state of the platform, and when they are up to date with the existing state of the platform, they can participate as players. And there is no hierarchy among players. Everybody is equal, everybody is connected to the rest through a handful of other players in a totally distributed network. That is peer-to-peer. So that is the system connection architecture. Second component, the integrity of this ledger is backed, so the blockchain, is backed and secured by a subnetwork of computers called the miners, who would assemble, verify, and archive the transactions for a reward. Miners is in the sense of mining for gold or rare resources. In Bitcoin, the peer-to-peer network participants, what they offer is the capacity of their computer to calculate. Okay? They put that on the network, and they offer the capacity of their computer or node to do mathematical calculations. This work, where they tackle very hard mathematical problems, we're going to discuss it a bit, costs money. So it is like a down payment you would put to participate in some investment. It is like any liability you would have to get assets. So it's something you put on the table to participate. And this computer calculation power costs two things. It costs hardware, obviously, the amortization of the machine you are using, or depreciation to be exact, and on the other hand, electricity. And that is the reason why, between parentheses, there are no miners in Lebanon, or so few miners in Lebanon, because electricity-wise, it's not at all profitable to mine bitcoins. So these miners, they offer work from their platform to participate in the network. Total bitcoins in existence will be 21 million. This is hard-coded in Bitcoin's code. Many times you would hear Bitcoin is not regulated. The dollar, the euro are regulated. So what does protect me in Bitcoin? There is no regulation. No. In reality, Bitcoin is as regulated as other currencies, but its regulation is a computer code, as simple as that. It is a computer code that participants in the peer-to-peer network have accepted and have elected to be the code they want for this cryptocurrency. And this code can be changed if people want to change it, because it is very simply open source. It is totally open source. You can download the program, you can twinkle with it, play with it, tinker with it, change it and say, okay, now I think, my name is Stéphane, and I think that Bitcoin shouldn't be limited to an issuance of 21 million Bitcoins in total. It should be 15 million, because this corresponds better to what the world needs. And then I would open my own version and call it whatever, StephCoin, whatever name I would choose. In reality, for it to be viable and to be accepted, it is very simply democratic vote. The more I have people believing in my version, the more I have followers, the more my code will be used, and the more value to my cryptocurrency. Okay? Today, as we're speaking, you have 5 different versions of Bitcoin. There is one that is dominant. It's practically 90% of the network, but there are 10% spread across 4 other versions. Today, you have more than 800 cryptocurrencies existing. From the